What if all the glamour, luxury, and stern smiles in front of the cameras are just a beautiful facade, behind which lies one of the most brutal family conflicts of modern times? The British royal family seems to have gathered all the plot points of a scandalous series: love, betrayal, revenge, intrigue, and a struggle for the throne, where the stakes are much higher than a simple smile at a parade. Have you ever felt that there is not just a chill of misunderstanding between Kate and Meghan, but a real war with no rules or prohibitions? What if even the most scandalous joint walk after the death of Elizabeth II was not a moment of unity, but a veritable torture for the Duchess of Cambridge? One of the most famous photographs in which Kate, William, Meghan, and Harry appear together in public is the one taken during a joint walk in Windsor immediately after the death of Elizabeth II. In a sign of respect for the departed Queen, the Sussexes and the Waleses decided to demonstrate family unity to the British people and the world. The joint walk took place 2 years after Meghan and Harry left Britain, relinquishing their powers, and a year after they gave their scandalous interview. Many in England hoped that the tragic event in the royal family would sober up the warring parties, and that the Sussexes and Waleses would take a step towards reconciliation. However, this never happened in the aftermath. Moreover, not only the rebellious Sussexes did not want to try to make peace, but also the usually accommodating and benevolent Kate Middleton. Furthermore, Kate Middleton later admitted that the joint walk with the Sussexes was a difficult ordeal for her. Biographer Robert Jobson wrote about it in his book, Our King. Later, Catherine confessed to a senior member of the royal family that given the strong dislike between the two couples, the joint walk was one of the most difficult things she had ever had to do. According to the writer, the idea for the joint walk belonged to Prince William. However, Kate agreed to this demonstration extremely reluctantly and only out of necessity. In reality, she was more than unhappy with her husband's decision. But why was even a simple short conversation with Meghan, during which they probably barely exchanged a few words, unbearable for Kate? Of course, the main reason for the Princess of Wales's attitude towards the Duchess of Sussex is precisely the abdication of royal duties and the interview with Harry and Meghan, in which they essentially denigrated the royal family. However, the behavior of the Sussexes in America, in essence, should have worried more Prince William and King Charles III, and not the Princess of Wales, who is destined to become only the Queen Consort. William, the future King of England, himself initiated the meeting with his brother's family after the death of Elizabeth. Could the well-known feud between the duchesses over the bridesmaids' dresses before the Sussexes' wedding, or Meghan's conflict over Kate's secretary, have been the reason for Kate's particular dislike of Meghan? After the quarrel over the dresses, Kate, as is known, even sent Meghan a bouquet of flowers with apologies, wanting to maintain peace in the family. In fact, the reason for Catherine's serious dislike of Meghan may have been that the Duchess, at some point, wanting to overshadow the people's princess, committed an act that could destroy Kate and William's marriage itself. And the Princess of Wales will never forgive Meghan Markle for this. As is known, Catherine and William simply dated for a very long time before getting married. William did not propose to Kate for many years. At the same time, the prince even allowed himself to cheat on his girlfriend from time to time. Once, because of William's behavior, the couple almost broke up. Paparazzi caught the prince having fun in a nightclub with some girls. Because of these photos, Kate and William quarreled and did not meet for several months afterward. However, William eventually realized that he had lost the girl he truly loved and who was perfectly suited for the role of the English prince's wife. When William took a step towards reconciliation, Catherine made a condition for him. From now on, the prince should not treat her like a rag and should not spoil her image by having fun with other women. William accepted the condition and subsequently did not participate in any scandals related to infidelity to his wife for a long time. However, in 2019, as is known, a scandal flared up again in the press about this. Some journalists tried to convince the public that William was cheating on Catherine again. The prince was accused of secretly meeting with Rose Hanbury, the wife of David, Marquess of Cholmondeley. The Waleses and Cholmondeleys, as is known, have been family friends for a long time. Rose was one of Kate's best friends. The estates of William and Kate and Rose and David are only 3 miles apart, and the families were often seen together at all sorts of events. The Cambridges and Cholmondeleys visited each other, dined in a friendly circle, and so on. However, when a scandal broke out in the press about an affair between William and Rose, this apparently hurt Catherine very much. The Duchess most likely remembered all the betrayals of the prince that she had to endure during their romance. The royal palace, of course, denied the unflattering rumors about the future heir to the throne. However, Catherine may have believed in them after all. In any case, the Duchess was very angry and again set a condition for her husband. William had to break off all ties with Cholmondeley. Of course, Kate herself broke off relations with Rose. It is known that William tried to calm his wife, convince her that there was no affair, and persuade her to remain on good terms with old friends. However, Kate was adamant. The friendship with the neighbors on the estate ended. It is known that Catherine was so upset that the story with Rose almost led the Cambridge family to divorce. Kate was apparently very hurt, especially since she had not forgotten what the press called her during her time dating William. Since the prince was cheating on Catherine and did not propose to her for a long time, the media nicknamed Middleton Waiting Kate or Patient Kate. Among other things, the story with Rose also negatively affected the reputation of the entire royal family as a whole. William and Kate have always been perceived in England as the future king and queen. Therefore, increased attention was paid to their family. The Cambridges have always been thought of as a decent family, in which only peace and mutual understanding reign. Kate and William served as an example of good spouses and good parents for all the English. The scandal with the affair shook this confidence of the subjects of the British crown. The English wondered if Kate and William would divorce and what their future relationship would be like. Ultimately, the Cambridges managed to emerge from the scandalous situation with dignity. It turned out that what happened only further strengthened the marriage of William and Kate. The dignified behavior of the Duke and Duchess once again convinced the English that the Cambridges are a couple quite suitable for the English throne. However, memories of this incident are apparently still very unpleasant for Kate Middleton, and perhaps that is why she is now so hostile to Meghan Markle. The fact is that some English people believe that it was Meghan who initiated the leak of information about William's alleged affair with Rose to the press. Meghan, as is known, is not at all popular in England. Some English people believe that Markle has always been very envious of Kate's popularity. Meghan allegedly wanted to overshadow Catherine and become the most popular British princess. Opponents of the Sussexes believe that Meghan was very irritated by the fact that she was doomed to always be in the second roles after Kate, to follow her at events, and so on. In addition, Meghan had not forgotten that William and Kate were against her marriage to Harry. William, as is known, asked his brother to think carefully before marrying Meghan. Kate, at the first meeting, did not even come out to meet Meghan to get acquainted with her. Harry brought his bride to his brother's house to introduce her, but as a result, only William spoke with Meghan. Kate was playing in the garden with the children and did not want to meet the actress. In addition to the scandal with Rose, admirers of the Waleses accuse Meghan of also being involved, for example, in the information that got into the network that Kate has digestive problems, and therefore she is so thin. In the end, this information turned out to be almost true. Kate, as is known, was found to have a serious illness. However, at the time when rumors about Catherine's problems leaked into the media, the royal family, of course, would like to hide this information. It is also believed that Meghan may be involved in the accusations of Catherine and William in the press that they are bad parents. Kate, as is known, was called a bad mother after the celebration of Elizabeth II's Platinum Jubilee. Prince Louis behaved very badly on the balcony of Buckingham Palace that day, and later, Catherine tried to restrain him, but she could not. Perhaps such a minor incident would not have attracted much public attention. But for some reason, some internet users began to accuse Kate of not being able to cope with her youngest son. And according to admirers of the Waleses, Meghan could have been somehow involved in this. Of course, all these accusations against the Duchess of Sussex may be far-fetched. Meghan, of course, loves all sorts of scandals. But since she was a member of the royal family for a very short time, it is unlikely that she could have attracted too many supporters who would help her pull off such serious attacks against the Cambridges. In any case, Meghan herself did not comment in any way on the rumors about her involvement in the scandals related to William's infidelity, Kate's health, and her qualities as a parent. At the same time, Prince Harry writes in his book Spare that the initiator of the conflict in the family was not Meghan or Kate at all, but Camilla. According to the prince, it was his stepmother who quarreled him with his brother. Camilla, according to Harry, deliberately leaked information from the palace about the quarrels between Kate and Meghan in order to distract the press from her scandalous person and whitewash herself in the eyes of the public. The conflict between the two English princes, William and Harry, and their wives, as is known, has been going on for more than 1 year. The Waleses and Sussexes do not communicate with each other at all, and do not even congratulate each other out of politeness on various family holidays, with cards or posts on social networks. Some fans of the royal family believe that the Princess of Wales and the Duchess of Sussex are mainly in conflict with each other. The royal sisters-in-law, very different in character and outlook, allegedly immediately could not find a common language. Meghan is accused of not wanting to accept the help of Kate, who tried to introduce her to royal life and advise her on how to behave properly. According to the official version, the Duchess of Sussex once behaved so rudely that she brought Kate to tears. This happened before Harry and Meghan's wedding because of the bridesmaids' dresses. Also, some fans of the British royal family believe that in fact Meghan and Kate are not to blame for the quarrel of the families. The relationship between them is not too warm, but Catherine allegedly always tried to smooth things over. Meghan, in turn, was also determined to get closer. The quarrel allegedly occurred between the brothers themselves. Both princes tried to protect their wives, and in the end, their anger and resentment, for the most part unfounded, led to a complete break. There is also an opinion that the conflict broke out because of William's extreme dislike of Meghan herself. Some fans of the British royal family believe that Meghan's behavior annoyed William so much that it led to the split in the royal family. It is known that the elder prince was initially against Harry's marriage to Meghan. When Harry told his brother that he was going to marry an American, William allegedly said to him, "Don't you think things are moving too fast? Maybe you should wait and think carefully." As Harry later wrote in his memoirs, these words from William came as a very unpleasant surprise to him. After all, the brothers had been very close since childhood and loved each other. William and Harry, among other things, were strongly brought together by the early death of their mother, Princess Diana. Deciding to introduce the family to Meghan, Harry apparently hoped for his brother's support. Moreover, he himself reacted very well to his idea of marrying the commoner Kate, and subsequently became friends with his sister-in-law. The brothers' advice to think Harry regarded as William's unwillingness to see Meghan as part of the royal family. The younger prince was very upset and angry about this. It was at this point that tension arose between the brothers, which had never happened before. Later, this tension escalated into a conflict. In fact, Harry was not mistaken. William really did not want to become the brother-in-law of a divorced American mulatto actress. Subsequently, like other members of the royal family, including Elizabeth and Charles, he was forced to put up with his brother's decision. After his brother's wedding, William may have tried to maintain peace in the family. However, Meghan's energetic character and her habits, which were too different from the habits of the royal family, prevented him from doing so. It is known that Meghan began to annoy William from the very beginning. As an American, the Duchess of Sussex has never been shy about publicly expressing her feelings and emotions. For William, however, this was completely incomprehensible. Palace staff later said that the Prince of Wales was terribly annoyed by Meghan's habit of hugging him, as well as other members of the royal family when they met. Kate, as a true Englishwoman, was also not too clear about Meghan's simplicity and frankness in communication. This is evidenced by one revealing case. Once, following her Hollywood American habit, Meghan asked Kate to lend her lip gloss. The Duchess of Sussex just forgot to bring her own. As Meghan later said, the Princess of Wales gave her the gloss, but she had a surprised and not too happy look on her face. Meghan was very offended by Catherine at that time, mistaking her English primness and coldness for arrogance. Catherine was surprised by Meghan's manners, but her irritation with this was far from William's. The Prince of Wales was literally driven to fury by Meghan's hugs and her American spontaneity. The misunderstanding that arose between the duchesses led to the first conflict before the wedding. William and Kate's daughter, Charlotte as is known, was a bridesmaid at Harry and Meghan's wedding. And the quarrel between the duchesses. The feud between the duchesses stemmed from a dress issue. Charlotte's dress didn't fit, and Kate asked Meghan to fix it. Both duchesses were on edge at the time. Meghan was nervous about the upcoming wedding. Kate had recently given birth to her third child, Louis, and her postpartum nervous system hadn't yet normalized. This allegedly sparked the conflict. During the argument, Meghan supposedly stated that Kate had a baby brain due to postpartum hormones. The Duchess also reportedly made an unflattering remark about the Duchess of Cambridge's age. This allegedly caused Catherine to cry. Meghan was reportedly told that speaking to Kate in that manner was unacceptable. The Duchess responded by saying that she always talks to her friends like that. Prince William, however, was allegedly outraged, and pointing his finger at Meghan said that they don't do that in Britain. William's gesture, in turn, displeased the Duchess of Sussex, who angrily told the elder prince, "Get your finger out of my face." This first conflict, according to the story, upset both families. The kind-hearted Kate was so concerned that she even sent Meghan a bouquet of flowers with an apology the next day. Of course, Meghan's habits, including her tendency to break protocol, public displays of affection, and bluntness, didn't appeal to Kate. However, being an accommodating and kind person, Catherine may have tried to accept the Duchess of Sussex as she was. William, however, continued to be angered and irritated by Meghan's behavior, and ultimately this dissatisfaction found an outlet. Because Meghan was unfamiliar with the rules of the royal family and often made mistakes early on after the wedding, the English press heavily criticized her. It is known that when Kate first joined the royal family, the press also nitpicked at her. The Princess of Wales, however, was able to survive this period and corrected all her mistakes. Meghan was unable to do so. The attacks in the press terribly upset her, and the Duchess's resentment was so severe that Harry once wanted to talk to his brother about it. The younger prince blamed his family for the attacks on Meghan. Therefore, even when the Sussexes still lived on the grounds of Kensington Palace in Nottingham Cottage, Harry called William. The younger prince wanted to talk to the elder, as he writes himself in his book, Spare, to discuss the escalating conflict. The brothers spoke on the phone in raised voices, and at one point, William angrily hung up. Soon after, still heated, he came to Harry's cottage. Meghan was not home at the time, and so the brothers continued their loud argument. In the conversation, the Duke of Sussex accused his brother of parroting the attacks on his wife by the media. After that, the conversation became even more heated, and eventually the hot-tempered William allegedly swore rudely at Harry. Frightened, the younger prince, according to him, turned around and went to the kitchen. The angry William, however, followed him into the kitchen. Wanting to calm his brother down, Harry poured water into a glass and gave it to William. He, seeing the Duke's actions as mockery, put the glass on the table, grabbed Harry by the collar, and knocked him to the floor. The prince, according to him, fell on a dog bowl, which immediately broke. Shards of the bowl pierced Harry's back. For some time the prince lay stunned, and then got to his feet. William's outburst of rage had by this point passed, and he felt guilty for his actions. To make amends for this guilt, William asked Harry to hit him back. This is how he, according to Harry, often acted in childhood during their arguments. However, this time Harry simply told William to get the hell out of his house. William left, but returned some time later to apologize. Then, some time after that, the Prince of Wales called his brother and asked him not to tell Meghan what had happened. Meghan, however, upon returning home, noticed cuts on her husband's back. Therefore, Harry had to tell her everything. According to the prince, the Duchess was very saddened by what happened. Perhaps William, regretting his outburst of anger, would have subsequently tried to reconcile with his brother. However, a new incident soon occurred, again leading to conflict. One of the Sussex's secretaries complained to William that Meghan was very rude to the palace staff. Several long-serving employees of the royal residence even resigned because of the Duchess. Upon learning about Meghan's rudeness to the servants, William flew into a rage again. This time there was no fight between the brothers, but the conflict was still very serious. It is believed that perhaps it was because of this conflict that Meghan and Harry left Nottingham Palace. As is known, they moved to another cottage provided to them by Elizabeth II. Officially, it is believed that the move was insisted upon by Meghan, who supposedly did not like Nottingham Cottage because of its small size. However, some Britons believe that William, enraged by Meghan's treatment of the servants, simply kicked the Sussexes out of Kensington Palace. William himself subsequently, expressing his extreme dislike for Meghan, called her in front of palace staff and friends, that bloody woman, absolutely ruthless with the staff. Despite all these conflicts, reconciliation between the brothers was still possible at that time, but soon the Sussexes relinquished their powers and left England. Officially, the reason for the departure was announced as Harry and Meghan being tired of publicity and constant photographers and wanting privacy, but many in England were sure that the Sussexes left Britain precisely because of Prince William, who literally hated Meghan. The fact that the prince really did not like the Duchess is even said by many of their joint photos. For example, in one of the photos, Meghan is smiling and addressing William, and he is ignoring her and is busy with his scarf at that moment. Also, in many photos where the Sussexes and the Waleses are posing together, William is standing with an angry stone face. In any case, after the Sussexes left for the United States, the elder prince began to treat his sister-in-law even worse. William believed that it was Meghan who was to blame for Harry betraying his family. After the Sussexes gave a scandalous interview to an American journalist, Meghan simply ceased to exist for William. In her interview, Meghan, as is known, also affected Kate Middleton. The Duchess said that it was not Kate, but she who cried after the argument before the wedding because of the bridesmaids' dresses, and this lie by Meghan was the last straw in William's patience. If earlier the Waleses were still ready for reconciliation, then after the interview for William it became impossible. It is known that the prince even spoke about the fact that he does not intend to reconcile with his brother. It is believed that in addition to rudeness, intemperance in feelings, lies in interviews, and violations of protocol, William had another reason to dislike Meghan. The Duchess of Sussex, as is known, especially at first, tried to copy Princess Diana. Meghan demonstratively showed her respect and love for Diana and tried to become like her in the eyes of the press and the public. William, according to his acquaintances, was always terribly annoyed by this. The prince has repeatedly said that there is absolutely nothing in common between Meghan and his mother. There is another reason why William does not like Meghan. According to people who know William closely, the prince is very annoyed by the Duchess's habit of calling herself Her Royal Highness on social media. According to the prince, since the Sussexes have relinquished their royal powers, Meghan has no right to use this title publicly. It is believed that William's irritation about this is so great that Meghan and Harry may lose their title altogether. At present, William is showing restraint and is not commenting on the Duchess's behavior in any way. This is due to the fact that the kind-hearted Charles III has chosen a fairly loyal line of behavior towards the Sussexes. However, many in England believe that after William becomes King of Britain, many things will change for his younger brother and his wife. And most likely, William will start precisely with the fact that he will deprive the Sussexes of the title of Royal Highnesses.